And good morning, Steve and Carrie.
Good morning, and Jonathan.
And Jonathan, how is everybody today?
We're doing all right, I guess. I mean, every week we talk to you, it's another retailer is like either in trouble or it looks like it might be. And this week, I guess, it's 21 Forever.
That's right. That's exactly the story that we're going to post today. Last week, as you know, we learned about Fairway closing. I think the week or so before that, Lord & Taylor. Many retailers in the shops of Nanuet that are very much on the endangered list, a good amount of them. And, the county and Clarkstown, which bears more weight than the county. I mean, what happens in Clarkstown will really impact the entire county. And
I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Go ahead.
I should read my notes when I come in as opposed to... I wrote down here that I heard that no, this is a fact. And it just seems to me an inappropriate place for it. There is a 7-Eleven now in the Palisades Center Mall. Yeah,
we reported that almost a year ago.
Oh, okay. I mean, somebody just told me that over the weekend, and I said, "And that's somewhat of a weird."
And it's really a sign, of where we're headed, in the retail landscape here in this county. Even we wrote about this many times, and we've discussed this too. HomeGoods replacing Macy's. Not HomeGoods. At Home replacing Macy's is not really something to celebrate. Yes, they're taking 100,000 square feet on the whole ground floor there, but you're talking about another down market, big box, sort of cavernous store without customer service, without a big staff, and with the sort of merchandise that you can get next door, well, practically next door at Home or at Kohl's. We are losing. Think about what we are losing, or the distinctiveness of what we've lost. Macy's, Lord & Taylor, J.C. Penney. Even Fairway as a specialty grocer, as compared to Aldi's, for example. So, I think there is a bit of a fear that we're heading down market here in
You know what? I'm going to put somebody on. There's one of our callers and had an interesting idea. I just wanted you to listen to what she had. Linda, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Tell Tina basically what you just said to me.
Tina, what I'm trying to say is that when you go to Refuah, it's a medical clinic. They have eye doctors there. They have medical doctors. They have a foot doctor there. Why can't all these stores get together, buy a big lot, a big shopping center, and all of them under one roof? One roof, and they share the rent, the expense.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
It's like Super Walmart. Super Walmart, there's a supermarket in there. They have everything in there. Why don't they share the rent? And
right.
Everybody in all the stores could be under. You go to one store, and you at one location. You could go to J.C. Penney's, Lord & Taylor's, right under that one umbrella.
Well,
they could share the expense.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because yesterday I was in New Jersey. And I was in the charming town, actually Pennsylvania, the charming town of New Hope. But I've seen this elsewhere also in New Jersey, where you've got these big spaces, and many vendors share them. Food vendors, breweries, wineries, cheesemakers. It's like they're these like marketplaces or souks or they're basically you take a big space. And you carve it up, and you've got a bunch of interesting vendors, and it becomes, a magnet to go to.
Make it like a big flea market, but indoors, everybody under that same umbrella, and they share the rent.
Indoors, interesting, more independent sellers, mom and pops, interesting
Just
things.
Just like in Muncie. Muncie, they have this Jewish mall. They have everything in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing is, It's one thing to keep saying, oh, well, what we need is to shift over from retail to entertainment. I mean, it's a nice catchphrase, but the truth is that when most people go out on a day-to-day basis and they're looking to shop or to spend their money, it's got to be something that feels worthwhile or exciting. And I just think what's happened is that the big box world has dulled out people, and it's homogenous. And I think people have had enough. I think
what they need to do, go to that mini mall in Muncie, and that's it. I've gone in there. They have everything under one umbrella, and everybody's making money. And it's only they share the expense.
Linda, thanks very much for the call. I appreciate it.
It's a totally great concept. I see it, and it's fantastic. I agree with you, 100%.
It's very interesting. There used to be a couple of stores sort of like that in Rockland, but they weren't a mammoth. They weren't a mall. They were like service merchandise. I remember that one.
But think about all this empty space that we have now. Okay. And waiting for to put a ski slope in them, or to put a big arcade. It really just is more of what we need to think about retail differently. We need to stimulate small business here. We need to have all these interesting aspects of retail that people are connecting to now in the way that they're connecting to them, which is they're hybrids. It's not, you can't just go into a store and find, pillows and wax candles and rows and rows and rows of it. It's just not attracting people anymore.
But why do they keep those? It's like they decide they want that.
Sorry?
It's like they decide they don't want the big businesses, like that are all leaving Rockland. Like we can't get them to stay. It's unfortunate.
It's not just Rockland. It's a national phenomenon. This retail apocalypse is going on everywhere. We're slated to lose potentially, I think, it's 12,000 stores, and over the course of a year. I mean, we're having, it is very much like, if anybody is old enough to remember, it's like the bubble bursting in the 90s, the high tech bubble bursting in the 90s, and the housing bubble of the mid 2000s, and now we've got an oversaturated, underutilized, kind of wasteful. These bubbles are all for different reasons, but I just think that the retail landscape, it's too easy to say, oh, this is Amazon, this is, online. It's more than that.
You know what? I'm going to put a lady on who's got an interesting theory, I guess. Sarah, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Tina's on, and go ahead. Tell her what you told me.
So it's interesting because, there's all this controversy in Rockland about people needing housing, people wanting to build this high-density on, like, undeveloped parkland and natural resources and ruining the aquifer and, and all the zoning controversy. Meanwhile, We've got all this empty space that's not being utilized. Could it be rezoned for residential and give these people places to live?
Right. So, so Clarkstown has just, rezoned a portion of Nanuet as a transit-oriented development, and they're expecting up to initially 500, housing units. Really, it'll end up going up to 750, and Pearl River is trying to do the same thing. Now, those kinds of housing developments with ground floor retail, and independent sort of retailers, I think is a good thing, and it will attract millennials, and it will stimulate the economy. The problem we have in Rockland is we have so many big spaces that are empty. And those some of them might lend themselves to a conversion of housing. For example, over at the Shops of Nanuet, I don't know what's going to happen with the Sears buildings, but could I foresee that turning into some sort of a density housing? Maybe, except that it abuts where they've just rezoned. So that is possibly problematic.
It comes down to zoning, Sarah, more than anything else.
What's that?
No, it comes down to zoning.
Well, yeah, I guess it comes down to zoning, and it comes down to, competing interests.
Yeah.
Now that go ahead.
But for instance, in the town of Ramapo, they're trying to rezone like single family zoning into multifamily units.
Right, and that doesn't make sense.
Couldn't they take some of this empty space make multi-family units, plant some grass. I mean, they can do stuff. I mean, they can get rid of some of that cement there, plant a little grass and trees, have courtyards, this and that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that is the trend also around the country in terms of even the people who own the Palisades Center, even in their very own malls elsewhere, they're converting space to hotel and to residential. Could we do that at the Palisades Center? I don't know. I mean, I assume some of those buildings would have to be knocked down, and it would have to be built from the ground up. But might that not be healthier in the long run for the economy? I think it probably would. I think we can't. I just don't think that we can sustain a big box culture here in Rockland, and we're seeing a withering away of it. And I think to hang our hopes on another Chipotle or another, I don't know, another generic big box retailer is not. I don't think it's the cure-all. I just don't.
We have to think out of the box.
Yeah, Sarah, thanks a lot. Tina, before I let you go, a lady called and she had heard a rumor on this radio station. Of course, we are the rumor mongers of Rockland, that a Finest might be coming into Rockland. Have you heard anything about that? Finest.
I will be on that right away. You know it.
I probably started it. If that's the case, don't bother. It's just probably a... No,
well,
I
will
started
check
that.
It out. I mean, as you probably know, at Rockland County Business Journal, we've been breaking these stories and telling them first. So
what are the most recent publications that are on your website? Which is the only way to access the Rockland County Business Journal?
Well, RCBizJournal.com. One last thing I wanted to talk about was I'd never have enough time. One last thing I wanted to talk about is the Peter Kelly filing bankruptcy was a big story too. What? Hello?
Where? Which one? Restaurant X?
Well, he's filed bankruptcy. There are 3 separate suits. Himself, a catering company that has the same address as the X2O over in Yonkers, and the Bully Boy restaurant in Congress. I mean, if he says he's going to, it's business as usual, and he's going to do what he can. But I mean, that would be a terrible loss to Congress. Bottom line. I want to wrap this up with something that's pretty important.
You go ahead.
Yeah. So we reported last week on we're awaiting a report from a committee, an economic committee that was appointed by George Homan back in February. And they were supposed to come up with some sort of an economic report to make recommendations. There were about 15 or so people, largely, kind of entrepreneurs and a sprinkling of other professionals, real estate professionals. Well, I don't know, if this report is going to be worthwhile, but it's supposed to take a look at the landscape and create some sort of a roadmap for going forward. And we had reported that there seemed to be some behind-the-scenes resistance for that report to be released prior to the election, but it seems that after some pressure had been applied, it seems that George Homan's going to release that report, or at least that's what he said at last week's town hall meeting when the town budget was presented. So, the point is that we really need some. So if this economic committee is made up of the great minds of Clarkstown, and these are the people who have some ideas for the way forward, we really need to see that report. We can't pretend that we don't have an issue going on here in the town of Clarkstown and in the county of Rockland County. We need to be, the county needs to be proactive because it's not a one-off situation. It's not one retailer with financial woes. There's a trend. So, that was really what I wanted to say.
Okay. Now, it's RCBiz, B-I-Z Journal.
Yeah, RCBizJournal.com.
And you can see that the people's interest has become very keen in what's happening in the county, what is portended to happen in the future. So, let's keep on it.
Exactly.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great week.